Good day. My name is Christelle from Frans, the Klerk, Independent Technical Analyst. We want to thank our viewers for so many requests we received this week. We want to kick off the show with Clover. Kuyetu wanted us to look at a weekly graph, and Kuyetu, we can see there is a beautiful inverse head and shoulder formation, and that neckline was confirmed when the share started to consolidate above 23 Rand 47, which means the optimism is in place, and the optimism of this formation can take this stock easily back to around 30 Rand. More importantly, it's trading above the red line, that is the 40-week moving average, which implies that the sentiment, the long-term sentiment towards this stock has changed to positive. There's also a spike in volume, Kuyetu. Now that can mean one of two things. For every buyer, you need a seller, and with that spike in volume, it either means that the sellers were in control or the buyers. Now there was a spike in volume with a rise in the share price. So we can assume at this stage that it might have been the buyers that were in control. If the stock continues to rise to higher levels, yes, we can confirm that it was the buyers who were in control in that transaction. But more importantly, it tells us that the sellers have dried up and that they were kicked out of the table and that the buyers will take the stock to higher levels. Remember, no matter how profitable a company might look on paper, if there's no buyers who support the share price to higher levels, that stock price will do nothing. I think it's a beautiful graph. Your first warning, Kuyetu, would be when the stock retraces back below the neckline, waiting there at around 23.47. But more importantly, that 40-week moving average is a nice tool, a strong indicator that can be used to say below that I might have to consider taking profit, or even more importantly, add to the position depending on what the candles say. And that 40-week moving average is waiting at 22 Rand and 9 cents. Akbar wanted us to look at Woolworths. Now, Akbar, the stochastic indicator, and remember this is a weekly graph, is pointing downwards, which implies a loss of momentum. More importantly, our candles, however, tell us that there has been in the last 2 weeks, including this week, and remember this candle is not finished yet, it will only be completed on Friday's close, all these three candles have long lower shadows. It tells us that in every pullback, there were enough buyers to lift the stock again to higher prices, and that is seen as positive. However, Akbar, I would be comfortable with the stock when it starts to consolidate above 58 Rand 25. We can see every time the stock came towards these levels there around 58.25, the sellers came in and they took the price to lower levels. I'm happy that the stock is trading above the 40-week moving average, that red line, that is positive. My shadows are implying optimism, that is positive. But I would be a little bit more comfortable if Woolworths starts to consolidate above that 58 Rand 25. I think you're too late to get into the stock now. Hopefully you've already started to nibble on it when that 40-week moving average started to change into a support, or more importantly, when the stochastic started to make higher lows and they broke upwards. The share or the graph will warn when Woolworths starts to consolidate below 53 Rand 25 again. Errol wanted us to look at Pan-Africa. Now we know the gold counters treated us very well on our stock exchange. But with the gold price retracing a little bit and the stronger rand, we can see that there is selling pressure. Now, Errol, Pan-African, I've drawn in a horizontal line as well as the support line there, waiting around 2 Rand and 5 cents. And for the last 5-6 weeks, it seems as if the stock is caught within this band, waiting between 2 Rand 29 and 2 Rand and 5 cents. So we can assume that the momentum to the top will continue when the stock starts to change 2 Rand 29 into a support, and the share will warn again, Pan-Africa will warn again when that 2 Rand and 5 cents changes into a resistance. Yes, it is trading above that red line, the 40-week moving average, which is positive. My stochastic is here in no man's land. It's sitting on a 48, so it's neither overbought or oversold. Now, this massive red candle here, which we assume was a finger error, distorts the indicators, and two, makes the graph a little bit looks like it's out of line. Because if I if this was a normal candle, and I'll put that in inverted commas, we might have a possible a head and shoulder formation here with a neckline waiting there around R2.05. But I have to take that candle into consideration because there was a buy at that low and a sell at that low as well as the high. So I would rather go with the consolidation band, and those two levels that I've given you there, Errol, would be your decision-making levels, and above that, more optimism, and below R2.05, more negativity. Maybe we can quickly have a look at the gold price for you, Errol, to maybe just support you there in your decision-making. Technically, below $1,485, the gold, we can expect lower levels on the gold price. The strong resistance that the gold price needs to change into a support in order to assume that the momentum to the top will continue is above $1,555. Now, we know with Brexit, trade wars, gold price has spiked. But what will happen if all those things fall into place and some sort of an agreement and big shots signed on dotted lines? Then maybe we can see the gold price back at $1,440, and then again that strong support there around 1,400, which is also a strong psychological level. But these candles, especially that candle in the 30th of September, tells me that despite the pullback, that there were buyers who bought the gold price there at that low at 1,459. So hopefully that will help you, Errol, in your decision making, and you can take it from there. Braid, a stock that has been in the news for quite a while and has done nothing, but we've seen some action in the last couple of days. Now, it's the first time in almost a year that Braid has started to make higher lows on the candles. And remember, this is a weekly graph, so these are the price actions on a weekly basis. But I want to go back to the history here, and I wanted to have a look, when was the last time Braid made higher lows on the candles? And it took me back to February 2017. The stock found support there. It stopped making lows when it came back from those highs at around 167 Rand, found support and started to bounce for higher levels. But then it found the 40-week moving average, that red line, and that weighted there around 88, 85, and it retraced from there. And then it just came back and started to make, again, lower lows. Again, here around January 2018, it found a base, found some support, and then the stock could find some buyers to lift it again to around that red line, the 40-week moving average. But again, the stock could not find enough buyers to change that 40-week moving average into a support with the momentum. And again, there was a loss of momentum to lower levels. Now we're almost seeing the same picture at the moment. The stock found a base here around 12 Rand 15, 1166, and there the buyers came into the game and they started to lift for the last couple of weeks the share to higher levels. Now, a strong resistance that needs to be overcome on Braid is waiting at 19 Rand 79. But take note how important and how close that level is to that red line, the 40-week moving average. That implies that those are very strong resistance levels that needs to be overcome. So it's very important, Alvin, to see what Braid does when it comes to around 1969 and that 40-week moving average waiting at 20 Rand 31. The big question is, will it do exactly what it did in the past? It could not find enough buyers to lift it above that 40-week moving average, or will be the first time in years that there is enough buying interest to take the stock above that 20 Rand 31 level. Yes, my stochastic is approaching overbought levels, but I mean, it's for a stock that has been so thin for so long, I would ignore this indicator at this stage and rather have a look at the price action and what the share does when it comes to these levels. Will it find enough buyers to break through those strong resistance? And we've seen in the past, when a stock finds resistance, especially on a 40-week moving average, time and time again, when it at some stage finds enough buyers to lift it through that 40-week moving average, it's almost like a dam wall that breaks, and the water and the buying pressure just pushes that stock to higher levels. Let's hope that is the case for Braid this time. If not, have a look at the candles, see the price action in the candles, and make your decision based on that. And maybe if you are a theoretical technical analyst, you will do what the book says and then wait for those candles to close before you make a decision. Because sometimes when we wait so long for a stock to take action, when in the first 2 days of that candle, we sometimes make the decision before that candle is even closed. Alzan wanted us to look at Sabina. And again, one of the darlings and favorites the last year in our market. It just rallied so beautifully to higher levels when that 40-week moving averages changed into support. They're around 11.35, and again in December last year, they're around 9.22. But last week's candle was a possible shooting star candle. Why? It was at the top of a rally. I had a long upper shadow. But this week's candle almost wiped off the negativity of last week's candle on Sabina. Why? I've got a strong bullish engulfing candle in the making, which tells me that despite last week's selling pressure, this week the buyers came in and they lifted the stock to higher prices. Now, a big level that needs to be overcome, Elzan, is 27.91 on Sabina. And I went back to the history of Sabina and look where the strong support and resistance levels are. So yes, it's quite a long way to go. So maybe if you want a closer level, you can use 26.16, which is that high of the week of the 7th of November. And when will the graph warn again? When Sabina starts to consolidate below 23.23, or even below that 22.21. Remember, there's a beautiful window on a weekly graph. They're waiting there around 34.16, which I know a lot of long-term investors has as a possible target level for Sabina in the future.